All right, and I think we're recording. I hope this works. So, this is going to be kind of like a breakdown of how I made my track Final Boss, which has released on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you listen to your music. If you haven't heard it, it sounds a little like this. So that's what the track sounds like. And here we go. Let's just get started. So first thing I have here, this little reverse impact is just Cashmere sampled. Oh, everything's gonna appear in a different monitor. This little reverse here. I basically just reversed that. And then I really tried layering some atmospheric samples here. So I first have this drone I sampled from like a synthwave future pack thing. Just kind of add some movement in the background. This little pad loop thing here. That is kind of like an extension of the main vocals. I have the ARP, which has a filter on it down here somewhere. One of these is a filter. And basically it just kind of makes it, and then it fades in. And then the filter just kind of opens up. And then I'll come back to the vocals here in a moment. So I have this pad. Let's see. So this pad is from Flex, just a very basic preset here. And if I open up the mixer, really only an EQ, just kind of shaping this sound here and shaping it around the other elements that are happening. I have this like slower, weird sounding ambience that I kind of like. Of course, it's not in, well, the entire track. If you really want to call it that, it's in C Phrygian, which is not a common key really. Otherwise, it's technically in G major, or E minor, but since the root note for basically everything is C, I'd like to call it C Phrygian. I have this other pad here. This is just kind of like another background sample, again from Flex here. Just a very basic preset. I turned the volume down quite a bit. Where's my mixer? And again, just another EQ, really kind of containing the extra frequencies, getting rid of some of that buzzy top end there. Then I have just some atmospheric loops. This is more of like a vocal atmospheric loop. Oh, where's my mixer? Oh, that's the wrong button. So I have all of the what do we call it? So all of the atmospheres routed. This is like a weird background ambient thing that I stretched quite a bit. That you can barely hear, and then this like higher vocal synth type atmosphere. And so this one's not routed because it's really only it plays just kind of throughout the track. But basically, I routed all of the atmospheres, and I put a pitch shifter on it for the buildup, and then I have a balance that just controls the volume throughout the track, and that automation down here somewhere. Channel 31. It's somewhere. There's the pitch shift. So yeah, just controlling that here. I have some various other like little percussive hit and effect things that are placed on the offbeat. That one's got some delay on it. This little reverse with some reverb. There's this, which almost acts as an impact. Some delay. And then another one. Just kind of layered together. I really liked that sound there. And so if I... And then the vocals here. Sorry. If I... Oh, I didn't realize I didn't open the wrong thing. Vocals here. So I stole these from my Future Garage pack that I was sent. So I have this de-esser, just remove some of the top end. Very kind of roomy and big reverb. Kind of a, you know, pre-EQ before I do some other things. Pitch shifter, just as later in the track. I don't think I actually end up using this. Kind of useless. Second EQ, boost the volume a little and shapes around 1000 hertz. Limiter to make sure it doesn't cut through the mix too much. And then a final EQ taking it around 2000 hertz. So like that. So the entire beginning section sounds like this. And the entire beginning section without the vocals sounds like this. So yeah, so I just ended up chopping this vocal loop here. They're mostly in the same spots. The only thing is the vocal loop only repeats once, so this is the whole vocal loop with this as the ending. And I decided that I wanted that to kind of be like the final. I only wanted it to play once. I felt like it had more meaning and more impact that way. So I kind of sampled that, reversed it, did some fun things with it. Yeah. Let's see here. I added another pad. There's this pad. And then I added another one on top of it. Kind of from the same pack in a way. And then these chords here create some very nice dissonance with these chords. These are very dissonant chords, and I just like how they sound. I really thought that the MIDI for these. What do we have here? C minor going up to F minor, it looks like. Yes. C minor up to F minor are those two chords there. Various reverses and impacts here. Transition. I didn't even realize I had that in there. A little bit of a long riser. This is where the drums come in. Drums, I rarely ever use like actual programmed hi-hats. I always use a loop because who's really going to notice? And plus they sound better than anything I'll make. So these drums here are very simple, just kick pattern, melodic dubstep kick, probably with the out knob turned up. And then snare. Just classic kick snare pattern. And then I have different hi-hat loops. These are panned different directions. This bottom one is panned to the right. This top one is panned to the left. And then I have a shaker. It kind of just fills some of the extra space that's in there. All of the drums together. This kind of just gives the track some movement at this section where these arps finally come in. This is these arps kind of define this intro section and again this breakdown section over here. Vocals keep playing, ambient stays the same, but I introduced the bass in the section. This is a Reese bass. Let me move this up to the proper channel. And so, whatever you call it, the whole sequence here, these arps, and by the way, here's the MIDI for the arp, just an extra little layer. Um, and if you look at the MIDI, well, I mean, this G sharp in here makes me think it's the key is no longer C Phrygian, but I'm not sure what key it is. It just sounded cool. And then right here, right before it goes into the buildup, this, by the way, this is just a very standard Rees bass I made in Vital with some detune compression filter on it. What channel is that? 34. And then EQ taking out some top end, pitch shifter, filter for when I use it. It's really janky EQ. And then 2 different volume automations that I use throughout the track. And so, but this Rees bass here, what I really like about it is you'd think that after going F, G, you go back down here, right? Just that would make sense. But to give it kind of some extra tension, I made it resolve here to the D. Oh, I can no longer play. Well, oh, it's because I moved my timeline marker. There we go. And like, what's gonna come next? And then you resolve to the C in the build up. So it kind of just adds a little bit of extra, like, not a suspension. Although I guess if that is a suspended chord. If I pull up like an actual piano, actually maybe this art suspended chord. Yeah, but it just kind of sets up for this build up here. So, and then lots of different things happen in the build up here. I have some sweep ups and some transitions. Most of the ambience kind of fades out here to make room for these vocals. ARPs filter away. So I filter out the ARPs and stuff. I introduced this drone here. Just kind of as like an extra space filler in the background. Because I wanted something like, because the rest of these things are all rising, you know, you have a riser, another sweep down, followed by another riser, everything's all rising and moving upward, and I wanted something that kind of filled the space that didn't do that, so it made it sound more full and more, just better, I guess. I took the end of this there's this little reverse here, like that. And so vocals reverb out, there's the main bass pattern comes in, I'll touch on that in a moment. And then I have this little, oh, that's the Rees. The Rees will pitch bend. It's the kilohertz pitch bender doing most of that work there. It's the same Rees bass. And then this one right here, this is like this cool ambient texture thing I found. It's actually called Rees Cave. I was looking for a Rees, and whatever you call it, I put this janky EQ to boost the highs, some chorus to give it, you know, a little more movement, a pitch shifter, and then filtered out all of the lows. So it did sound like this. Like you can see, there's some low end resonance there. And so I filtered all that out. So you just get this like nice, like shimmery top end. That really kind of lets it, you know, do what it wants. And then I just automate the volume down right at the drop. Build up drums, nothing special. There's a sub drop just as a transition. This is just I just like this kick sample, and this matched my build up that I wanted. And so I was like, I'm going to use this loop. Same thing with this. I like this snare sample. There's an extra layer. Because it kind of fills the space there. And then I bring in this little, just kind of as the song speeds up and gets faster, I wanted a little more punch in the build-up, and so I sampled these kind of EDM snares, EDM build-up. Let's see. In terms of everything that's happening around the build-up, and I will still touch on this main bass, is automating the EQ of the snare here. So it starts high, and then drops to open it up so the snares sound really big and full, and then automate it up. I have a master filter, so if I open up my mixer and go to the master channel, I'll touch on the mastering things right now. Balance, just turning the track down before processing. First EQ, lowering around 1000 hertz to get rid of a little mud. OTT on the master, gotta have it. Everything's pretty much the same. I just mess with these knobs a tiny bit. Reverb, this is on only during the build-up, and it's only the dry signal when I automate the wet knob. Second EQ, just kind of cleaning up the mids again, lowering around 1500 hertz and around 300 hertz. Limiter, this limiter is basically just doing all of my mastering. I have another EQ taking a sharp cut right out of, let's see, I believe this is the note it should be. Nope, it shouldn't be. But this is 364 hertz, just kind of taking out some frequencies there, boosting a little around 100 hertz, give the low end a little more beef. Master filter that I use, another balance to turn that I use to automate the track volume throughout the track. And then this is my analyzer, which I currently do not have loaded. So everything that happens around the this master filter here will start sweeping away the lower frequencies, so that way then when the drop hits, it becomes very full. And it opens back up like that. And then I increase the reverb one, just to make it kind of this pre-drop right here, this pre-drop fill to impact a little more. Increase the distortion here. That shimmer thing is gonna make me go insane because it doesn't turn off properly. And then I also automate. This is the reverb wet level automation right here. And then I also automate the stereo separation. So right here, the mix goes about 75% mono, meaning it's very like close together, and there's not a whole lot to it. And then I slowly open it up during the build up, which is not something I generally do. I generally like to automate the track to go more and more mono as the build up goes, and then bring it back. But I felt that in this case, having a very like it would start short and like kind of start small and then become very in your face and very, massive in your speakers or your headphones. I felt that was, what it needed. And so I boost the volume of the ARPs, have it drop down. Most of this is just pitch bending things or filters. This one filters the ARPs, just a whole bunch of different, things. And then this is where you first start to hear this main bass pattern. So this is like an 8-bit lead that follows the bass. Shout out to No Shift for recommending I add this. It was going to be in the actual drop, and I decided it was a little too much. But basically, it's just, classic lead, like a Mario type lead. So, with a little bit of reverb and some EQs on it. Nothing too crazy. Some pretty heavy distortion as well. Very asymmetric here. OTT at a fairly high depth, boosting the highs and removing the lows quite a bit. EQ, boosting volume and cutting out the lows. And then just shaping the highs a little. So nothing crazy with that pluck there. It just follows the bass line. Increases quite a bit in volume. It's more acting as a layer, and then this is the main bass sound that you hear in the track. So I have filters opening it up, and so let's just get into it. So this bass here, I originally, I'm in a Discord server, and they said, you're going to make a song at 135 beats a minute, make it this format, yada, yada, yada. And then we were going to combine it all into a big mega mix, combining all of our different styles. And it worked out great. And this particular bass right here that that becomes the main sound is like the starting point of the bass I created for that challenge. And so, oh, I need to go lower. So lots of different things happening here. So I have an oscillator one. I can't solo these. Let me move the filters. So why is it playing so? Oh, it's because of the side chain. Let me put it like here. There it is. Okay. So let me open up my mix or my channel rack. Sorry. So let's start dissecting the sound. I have a quad saw, time skewed slightly, so just kind of shifting a saw wave. Sine wave here. That FM's another saw wave at the bottom. So without any of the effects on, without any filters, just already this kind of heavy, stabby, punchy sound, with lots of unison detune here and lots of unison voices. So, and of course that's some of my post-processing that I didn't turn off as well. I sampled this one shot here. Kind of gives it a little more like aggressive and some grit. And then I have these little, this is a really tightly spread comb filter. And then I have a phaser filter on it. And these are both key tracked and automated. And one of them is automated to the pitch wheel, which I will use later in the song. And then for effects, chorus to make it whiter, multiband compression to bring back the sound, linear full distortion, which is really what makes this sound come alive. Just kind of adds a lot more punch to it. And then equalizer. I don't use this sound, movement across the frequency spectrum a whole lot with this bandpass filter here. But like for some of the longer notes, it just kind of rolls off that top end a little, and I really quite like it. So there's one of the sounds, and in terms of processing, I first have an EQ, just kind of a general EQ, bringing out some of the more resonant frequencies. Oh no, is that playing this note? So just kind of bringing out some resonant frequencies there. OTT, more compression. I have a ring modulator with this, very harsh looking form there. Another EQ, just kind of shaping these resonances again. I have a reverb with a very short decay time. I use reverb as a sound design tool quite a bit, not to like as an effect, but like because it gives it some additional, if you put the decay time all the way down, turn the low cut up a bunch and mess with a few of these other settings, and turn the wet knob up, you can get this like kind of just a little more like juice, I guess, in your attack. And then this is what does a lot of the work here. Cymatics Vortex. Without it. With it. So it just boosts it a whole bunch. I really like this plugin. I use it a lot for basses and kicks. It's very good. Wave shaping to add a bunch more of those higher harmonics and that distortion. Kind of just brings out the higher end. Different EQs. This is the weird EQ. I had this like little level plateau thing here following this huge boost, which I found quite good. This is a filter. This removes the low frequencies to make room for the sub bass, because the sub just lives right down here, doesn't really go up much. And then this is another filter that filters out down the high end like that, remains off most of the time. We're not done with the processing. We have delay that I use as part of an effect in a transition. This slight EQ taking out this resonance right here, and then another just final EQ rolling off a little bit of the top end. I found that as I was mixing and listening on, actual headphones that are not my mixing headphones, so say a pair of AirPods or something like that, I found that the top end was just a little too bright in general coming from this bass, so I had to turn down the high end. So you should always check your mix on multiple different things. And then now for one of the cooler sound design tricks I used. So it routes, it goes from channel 2 here to channel 25 for more effects. And then, what pattern did I just select? So it goes like that. And then how I get so much more grit out of it is I am routing it to channel 7 here, which has an additional reverb that this is the reverb that I use like to, actually reverb out the bass. And then I also have an EQ removing the lows from the reverb, but I didn't route. So you can route a channel. When you route a channel, you can route it to this track only, meaning the output from channel 2 will go right to channel 25. Or you can do what I did here and have the output from channel 25 go to channel 7 and go to this channel, so it will be playing twice. And then I routed channel 7 back into itself to the sidechain channel, so you get some really harsh clipping. And it really clips the sound and makes it just so much more distorted. I think that's kind of what I was going for with this whole sound here. Let me turn the sidechain off. Just very high end, very heavy sounding. There are more layers to this bass, of course. I have a preset here out of Citrus. I don't know what octave this is in, but it's kind of like a more, if I actually maybe, there it is. So there's kind of another buzzy layer, very similar processing to that, just an EQ carving off some of the top end, almost as like if this is a Reese bass, and then I routed it to channel 2 where you had all that processing I just explained. And then I have another vital patch here. Another very heavy. This one's got a lot more linear full distortion. I really like this linear full distortion. I'm experimenting with it a bunch. Removing the lows here. Just kind of a basic, literally the basic shapes, minus the triangle wave. Never used, rip. Channel 33. There's some wave shaper distorting that quite hard to kind of fit with my general sound palette. Taking out some of the mids to make room for the other bass. I don't know what this does. And then I route it back to channel 2 to fit to do some more parallel processing with that. And so that's pretty much the whole bass, unless I forgot something. That's really the main bass sound that there is there. Yeah. Let's see. There's this little reverse breath, which I use quite a bit. And then this is a reverse that I use just kind of as, just as a transition. You can hear it in there. I have the sub rise here in the buildup. I don't really make my own sub drops because, first of all, I have this sampled sub drop, and second of all, it's a sub drop. If I wanted to use the sub that sounds exactly the same to make a sub drop, sure, I would. It takes 5 seconds. But I just find this one easier to use because I don't have to make an automation. I can just crossfade it. Now for the drum fill, and I always says it sounds like, I'm a percussionist, it sounds like I'm dropping my bag of sticks onto a drum set. And so basically, this is actually the fill from AU5's song The Other Side. I just slowed it down a whole bunch. If I untime stretch it, it's just because Other Side's 150. This is 112. I have some these are like just FL Studio stock tom drums. Just basic toms, nothing special there. This is from like a future bass fill. And I chopped it up and time stretched it. So I use it as another layer. And then I have this, just another drum fill. This one's panned to the left. I sped up quite a bit. Another drum fill. Just kind of chopped it up again. And then this third drum fill. Pitched down quite a bit as well. These are all routed to channel 18, where I have an EQ removing some of the extreme lows. This weird EQ, which is just kind of a drum EQ, taking out some more lows, cutting out the mids, EQ, cutting out even more lows, and then a limiter to make sure that these drums aren't too loud, because drums are very loud. And so all of it together, just, I just kind of layer this with a kick here. Same channel, just another dubstep kick. So a very simple drum fill there. I have variations of this, like I chopped up this one over here at this break. So I have the laser sample. Just a stock laser sample, and then kind of, chop it up again, and I have more variations over here. Just again, experimenting with chopping it up. This is the second half of that. I just use those two toms to layer with this. Just kind of gives, I always layer my toms, gives more crunch to the sound. So just a whole bunch of different, variations of all the same fill. I think it keeps the sound together and makes it sound like I'm not using, a billion different sounds or whatever. But yeah. Rest of the track here. Kick, drums. I layered the drums a whole bunch. Only one single kick drum here. This is the first thing I added to the project. Just an EQ shaping it, and then some slight distortion to give it some punch. Just brings it through the mix a little more. I have these drop claps, time stretched, because it's supposed to be at 128, and I just slowed the entire sample down. Just kind of moves the project along. Ride here, I'll just keep the whatever you call it, just very standard EDM ride. All of the cymbals are routed here, where I move a bunch of the low frequencies and then cut out some of the higher frequencies to make room for that big bass. And then snare drum, 2 different layers. I don't know why there's, an extra little thing at the end. I had to chop that. Oh, that's the channel rack. Processing, EQ, weird EQ. Oh, weird EQ. Didn't mean to full screen it. Reverb, again, with just gives it a little more, punch to it. And then EQ, shaping the reverb. And EQ, shaping the reverb. These are like basically the same EQ. Just slightly different, because I really want that dip there around 500 hertz to make room for the bass. So yeah, and then these are just a whole bunch of different loops. Let me just all these right here combine for that big offbeat ride that's very present in the track. And this loop just pans left and right. You can feel that going left and right in your speakers or in your headphones if you're wearing headphones. So yeah, all the drums together, just, very big and full drums. Again, I don't actually program my own drum patterns because these work just as well. I'll add, the emphasis where needed, like with this extra open hat here. But other than that, nothing really to it. And then I panned them right and left to move them out of the center, so they are, so the big bass has room. And then impacts and crowd noise, just sidechain to the kick. It's very standard. This little reverse sweep when the sub goes an octave up, is kind of a space filler. So it is, just kind of keeps the song moving along. So this is the sub, by the way. Again, I made it in Vital. Literally just the sine wave. Phase all the way down. Envelope settings are very standard. And then EQ, boosting the volume by almost 12 dB to get it to come through the mix, removing some of nonsense overtones that don't exist, and it's just EQ. Wave shaper to give it a little bit of harmonic distortion, as you can see here. And then I removed these harmonics here. And this is actually, I think, should be, if I'm correct, pretty much where the harmonics are when the sub goes an octave up, just to make room for the sub, because I felt that when the sub went too high, that those were too loud, the sub jump, octave jumps. And instead of just making an automation and lowering the volume like a normal person, I decided I'd fix it with an EQ. Doesn't really matter in the end, because it turned out fine. And then very heavy sidechain here on both the sub and the bass. And that fits perfectly around the kick, as it should. I turn that sidechain off, it'll get very muddy. This doesn't sound good, so that's why I use sidechain. And then this ambient loop, which is also sidechained. I don't even know if this is in correct pitch. I think it's still suffering from pitch shifter. Yeah, it's pitched up about half a semitone. I actually never realized that, but whatever, sounds cool. Yeah, just different transitions. So I introduce a new, in this second part here where the bass kind of goes more screamy and more up, I introduce, so there's a lot happening in this section here. So on the downbeat, you have this really big, like, wom wom type noise, minus the sub bass. And so what that is I have just layered these. I pushed some of them up an octave and some of them down an octave, and I did make everything in one pattern, but everything is up an octave or down an octave just to kind of give a different sound. And then I also what do you call it, this is double layered. Well, actually no, this is an octave up, and I also introduced this little lead synth here, if it wants to play. So I use that as just something else. Wave shaper for distortion, bit crusher, high shelf, high pass again. So this is like the lead in that section technically, and so I double layer these. So all of these basses are also still playing. And the nice thing about this, like this vital bass that I have, like the very big sound bass, is when you play one note, like that, if you play two notes, it becomes very gritty, and that's kind of what I did here. Is at this section, there's only one note playing in most of the MIDI, so like right here, instead of, you know, C4 and C6 or C4, C5, really it's just C5, and then, you know, oh, the side chain's off, whatever. And then down here is this, it's a very just like gritty and harsh layer as an extra like space filler. Just a very similar technique I use. Use a phaser to move it around in the stereo field. Just as like extra, just as an extra gritty layer. Drums stay the same. The only thing I add is on the offbeat, layered with the ride cymbal, is this little woo. And it's kind of, it's a flam almost, where you have this, and then this is layered perfectly with the cymbal, and it just kind of goes in the background to add a little more energy and excitement to this section here. Now that you have a lead, I don't know what that is, that little arrow. That's not supposed to be there. Okay. I hope that's definitely not in the final, I don't think. Anyway, I just probably put that there by accident. And then stop time here. And also everything, I made this all on the grid, by the way, if you're wondering why this is like, so much over. It's because I had to move all of it over to fit this reverse in. So I made it all in the grid and then add this reverse at the very end. And then drums, everything stays all the same, side chain, panning, and stuff like that. And then you go into this little breakdown section here into another build up. So it's the same build up drums from before. Everything's fine. Pretty much this build up is all the same. I just add this huge impact. And just to kind of give it like, okay, there's now going to be, it's now very confused and muddy at this section. And then right about here, you can hear the main bass start to creep in again. You know that something new is going to happen. So same kind of, principles as down here before. And then build up, and then this time just a more, aggressive and faster paced fill to keep the energy going. And then I introduce this growl here. This is just an AU5 sample. Probably no processing to this at all. Literally just an EQ. Just kind of, shaping that growl a little. And so basically this section here is just a lot faster. You'll notice, so no more, notes or anything like that. No more syncopated rhythms. It's just all one note, just very like chuggy and fast. And then I made it follow the sub movement here. And just moved the things up. And then I also added in this same little weird bass again. I don't know why it's on its own channel this time. Oh wait, I forgot. I added in that little was it this, the 8-bit lead? The 8-bit lead. I added the 8-bit lead as an extra layer this time. It's difficult to hear because I didn't think that it was that important in the mix, but so I mixed it low. That just kind of fills the top end nicely, and it comes through on like tweeters and stuff like that. I reversed the snare here. And then I sampled just a gun sample. I have like this pew pew sound because I thought that was cool. And then I sampled a gun. I was like, and just kind of chopped it then. Just gonna give it some more movement, and I have a reverse. Just to kind of keep the bass and the lower frequencies there and bring the listener back into sub. Because I thought that was necessary at that section. And then right here is just breath and the drum fill. There's nothing else. Oh, well, it sounds like a phone ringing. If it doesn't overlap with the hi-hats. So yeah, that's basically what that is. Rest of the drop, pretty simple. Just filter the bass out. And then this lead here. I sampled this. I thought it fit my sound palette really well. It's really the only thing that happens here besides these dissonant pads and the ambience that comes back. I bring back the vocals here. And so then at this section I bring back the vocals. There's this ride cymbal. This is just a melodic dubstep ride. There's nothing special to that. I bring back the arps, and then there's also this new arp. I sampled this and slowed it down as well. Just slowed it down. Vocals come back. Reed's bass comes back. Remove some of the ambience and extra nonsense that happened over here. And then right here, it's like a false breakdown, or not false breakdown. Like I only have the second half build up drums here. The first half is not there. And this time I let the arps kind of handle this whole build up section here, where the arps themselves start pitch bending. So I think like that's what characterizes this build up rather than the first one to make it not sound the same, is that these arps are now pitch bending, whereas over here they weren't as much. They did, just not as, it wasn't as prominent because this main bass was here. And this main bass is here again, but this time you can hear the arps because the bass is still, you know, fading in. So, and then drone comes back, everything comes back, ambience, pitch shift. And then for this second drop right here, what I did is I replaced the kick with a clap sample and layered it with the ride and kept all of the hi-hats, so it's just, you know, and then filtered the bass down, added this big riser, reversed the sub. They stop at different points for a reason, I'll explain that in a moment. Brought back this fill, and then of course crash. And the reason it stops right here is because at this spot right here is where the kick hits. Oh, it's one tick off, I don't care. Oh, it also ends on a down cycle. We're going to ignore that. And basically, so I just didn't want the sub overlapping, or the kick overlapping with the sub here. And then this, other than that, it's basically just a copy of the second half of the, or no, it's just a copy of this first drop, this, you know, the A section. And then for the outro, I brought back most of the impacts, these dissonant chords. And then filtered the ARP down an octave. Again, I sampled the ARP and also used the MIDI that I made. And then I let the vocals kind of handle the ringing out of the rest of the track. This is Automation Land. Yeah, there's a lot happening here. You know, I have all the reverbs here. I make sure the bass is not reverbed in the build-up and then reverbed in the drop, and there's so much going on. It was really hard trying to balance this low end here, because I have the Reese bass and I have these sub drops and I have this kick, and I was like, do I sidechain the build-up? Do I not sidechain it? And I ended up not sidechaining it because I thought it would just be better. Who is ringing the phone? Whatever. But basically, that is kind of, you know, it was just difficult balance. Sorry, the phone is distracting me. Who is trying to call me? Oh, you can't even hear it on the microphone. Great, I can hear it outside of my headphones. But other than that, that's really pretty much the whole track. You know, there's a few uplifters and stuff. Yeah, but if you have any questions, just let me know. I love this track. It's my first ever solo release that I made without collaboration of anyone. And I think it turned out really well. And if you want to hear a preview of another track that I will be making and releasing very soon in collaboration with No Shift, here you go.